Let me welcome everybody to the meeting of the Facilities Committee, and we'll start by roll call. And I'll just go by order. I see people on the screen. Charles Burdell Williams.
Present.
Let's see. And thanks for bearing with me. Pamela Henry. Okay, Pamela, you're on mute.
Yeah, and I couldn't unmute myself. I don't know why. It was not allowing me to.
That's fine.
I'm pressing the button and it wasn't working.
That's fine.
I'm present.
Thank you. Joel Fishbein.
Present.
Dan Schultz.
Present.
Julie Haywood.
Present.
Leah Mulhern.
Here.
Zachary J. Epps.
Present.
And I believe that's everybody. Next on the agenda is.
I'm here, David.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's
And
okay.
Jennifer. And next on the agenda would be the minutes from the December 7th meeting. Can I have just as approved by acclamation? Are there any proposed comments or changes or concerns about those minutes?
I think you need a motion to
Okay, sorry.
approve them.
Thank you. Somebody can make a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And let me turn it over, if I can, to Mr. Holman, who will go over and lead the meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Do I first thank you for coming out for this meeting. I wanted to share my screen and start the presentation. Is that fine with everyone?
That's fine, thank you.
All right. All right, do you see my presentation?
We do, yes. Thank
All
you.
right, okay, this is great. A lot better than last month, right? So we know our mission, our vision, our statements. So we're going to proceed with the projects we have pressing. Cheltenham High School, the library piping project. The school library is available for limited use until permanent repairs are completed. This project continues to be investigated and the district is awaiting direction from solicitors on how to proceed. I spoke with Justin, our solicitor, today at length regarding our three issues at hand: Wyncote, Cheltenham, and Cedarbrook. Can't forget that one. We had some good headway, and I look forward to. We have I'll share that later on in the presentation. However, okay, the stadium scoreboard. This is a picture of the scoreboard. It was damaged due to severe weather on December 20th. The vendor has stated that the damage is not covered under warranty. We will have to file an insurance claim with that. At the high school also, ARC Roofing, ARC, has completed an evaluation. Though they're going to repair all the areas that are circled with the clouds for a cost of $12,600. Cedarbrook on Wednesday, December 29th, rather, an extensive investigation was conducted on the piping. The results of this investigation will be presented at the next facilities meeting because we have to go over it with the soft dig and also the solicitors, so we can have a true understanding of what we are dealing with. Whistler Pearlstein, our district attorney, is currently compiling construction project documentation for review and litigation. Now, let me go to the next slide. That is the interior of a stormwater pipe, right? What you see on the top is the amount of free space that's in that pipe. So this is why I'm giving context to why I don't want to speak to it just yet until I have a true understanding of it. So that Justin just got this yesterday also, our attorney. So Glenside, while at Glenside, we noticed that there is a dangerous condition. This is a gas train from the city or PICO to our boiler room. It's unprotected from vehicle impact. This is located in the rear of the building and is a commonly utilized area. This is what we have to put in place. It's gas meter protection bumper by construction, and we're gonna have to go out for bid for it. But I don't, it is needed. And we're going to also assess the other schools to make sure that we have that protection, because we do not want a catastrophe to happen if someone should hit that gas line. Glenside, Glenside, the school generator switchgear was repaired, which caused intermittent power failures in the IT server closet. This equipment supplies internet for the entire school district. Because of that switchgear failure, all of the switchgear in the district was inspected today by West Generator Company. There was also a backflow that was damaged in the boiler room, which caused minor flooding, no damage to the building. It went down the drain, and Keystone Fire Protection was called on site to repair that problem. At the administration building, the hot water in the building has reportedly been out for over 3 years. This problem has been resolved with a replacement tank. This work was completed by our maintenance personnel. The final slide is our work orders. I'm having trouble understanding, not understanding, but wrapping my head around how our work orders are generated. If a teacher sees a spill, they generate a work order for it. If that work order is closed, then that counts towards the count, but it's not a maintenance work order. You understand what I'm saying? So I want to figure out how we can separate those kind of work orders as task work orders, as opposed to our true scope of maintenance. Hopefully the PASBO, our PASBO exercise that I've been involved in will help us solidify our count for how many mechanics or technicians that we need. When you have, say, 30 work orders a day, as far as unlock the door or lost or a spill or something like that, I have a hard time trying to figure out if we're even right-sized as far as that. Now, having that been said, we dodged a bullet with the snowstorm, but we were prepared. We had calcium chloride on hand. All the trucks had their plows put on. I'm sure you've seen them around the district, and we were ready. We look like we have another winter weather event coming this week, which looked like it may be a little bit more treacherous for us, because we can't we can't fight ice. It's gonna be an ice storm. So that concludes my presentation. Is there anything else?
Great. If the board has questions, if they can raise their hands, and I'll call on you in the order that I see you. Great. So the first is Ms. Haywood, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Holman. Just a quick question. I just wanted to clarify. You said that the administration building has not had hot water for 3 years?
That's what I was told. Yeah.
Wow.
I was told.
Wow. I wish we had been told about that earlier. We would have definitely gotten that corrected much, much sooner. I'm sorry to hear that.
It was, it's minor fix, just a quick exchange of a tank, and we're all good now. We're all good.
Yeah,
I did a happy dance, Mrs. Haywood. No, I'm really serious. I did not know. I was not aware. I knew that we just had cold water, but then some of the seasoned central administrators shared with us during one of our meetings that it's actually was close to 4 years, to be quite honest. I just didn't want to say that. So,
Wow.
but that was some of the low hanging fruit
Mhm.
that we're trying to go after, just some of those quick fixes. But especially in this era of COVID and trying to mitigate, I mean, not that water temperatures matter allegedly, but having hot water is preferable. So,
Absolutely.
so we're good from that standpoint. And thank you for that clarifying question.
Yes, Mr. Holman, thank you for taking care of that. I really feel badly that the administrative team has been without hot water in the administration building for so long, but I'm glad it's been corrected.
Yeah, we're in this together. So again, the low hanging fruit, the quick fixes, we'll take care of those, and as we go out to our bigger fish, right? So we'll handle it.
Thank you. And next I see Mr. Burdell Williams.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. First, Mr. Holman, I love the proactive safety find to install some protection for our gas line there. Even having new buildings. I know Glenside's probably what 10, 11, 12 years old by now, but having these new buildings, we constantly talk about how they won't stay new for long if we don't maintain them. And aside from preventative maintenance, upgrades and proactive type of enhancements that we can make to the buildings to make them more safe or more livable, or to improve upon the experience of our teacher, staff, and students, is well received from my perspective as one board member, but I think is really critical in continuing to ensure that we have really good buildings, which is our intention. So thank you for sharing that, and thanks to whomever spotted it, and recognized that we needed to do something to protect that. I do just have one question. And it's more of a process question, and maybe there's another time for us to discuss this, so don't have to rush for an answer now. But the question is just around what is our process for completing repairs or for working through a potential repair when the insurance company or when lawyers are involved. I asked that question just to provide some reference there, going back to the exterior lintel repair for the outside of the high school. That repair took like 3 years. I know there was other things that happened in between, but I'm looking at the plumbing challenges with the coolant tower or the chiller over at Wyncote, and the flooding issue that we had over at Cedarbrook, and also the media center challenges as well, as line items that we seem to like wait for advice from our solicitor or from insurance company on, but all the while I'm just going to say, I won't use the word destroying, but I'll say just diminishing the experience for our students a little bit. And so I'm just curious, from a process perspective, how we can do better, because while we're sitting back doing our piece, trying to figure out the legality of what we should be or could be doing, our students are missing out on a $3 million media center that I don't think they've had an opportunity to use, but just for a little bit, since it's been built because of COVID, quarantine, and now because of the moisture challenges. So again, no strong answer now, but I did want to just put that out there as something that I'm very curious about us, specifically as the chairs of the committee, talking through that there.
If I do have some context for the media center, for example. Principal Dr. O'Hara came to me and asked, could they use it for overflow of keystone testing? So I looked into it, the team, we looked into it, and this determined through our consultant that there was no environmental dangers, right? The moisture comes from when the air conditioning's on, the pipes sweat. There's no sweating pipes during heating season, right? So, or not in that room anyway. So, in that system. So, you know, the decision was made to open it up for the overflow room and also let them utilize that room during the winter. Now, hopefully we can have a resolve by April 15th when AC comes, you know, is to come online. But yes, I do. I understand what you're saying. You know, we as a district spend a lot of money on things, and you know, it's give me time. All right. So now we go to the Winco, right? I spoke with Justin Donahue today. I'm going to meet McClure on right on my desk. I meet McClure on Wednesday there, and this is the contract that they agreed to. And if they decide through consultation with Justin, if they decide that they want to fight it, then we'll go after the bond company, and then we'll just pay the money and get the money on the back end, because this has to be put in place prior to April 15th, because this controls the AC. I understand this. I'm sensitive to the time issues that, you know, that these components, you know, impact the conducive environment for learning. You know, that's what I always look for that. How does this impact student achievement? So, you know, we all are in this together. So if that's some context for you, you know, where my thought process is with this.
Sure. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And I know I do not, you know, I know, you know, we're, you know, just in the setting of me just legitimately challenging us, right? Because we're all in this together as well, right? And it's just, you know, being a part of the facilities committee for a number of years, you know, I've watched us, again, the primary example was the lintel on the exterior of the high school. I watched that project take a really long time, and students were out of the building because of quarantine, et cetera. So that bought us some time. I just want our students to be able to enjoy, as one board member and also chair of the committee here, just want our students to be able to enjoy their buildings. And so, you know, anything we can do to talk through process. I haven't evaluated any of our policies for this, but just want to, you know, again, something that I'd like to talk a little bit more through, not necessarily right now, but something that is of a concern of mine, just given the experiences that we've had over the last few years here.
Not a problem. You know, I'm open. You know, so whenever you want to talk, just let me know. I'm here.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. And I believe that Mr. Epps is next.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Holman, good evening again. I want to second Mr. Burdell Williams's appreciation in terms of seeing not just maintenance, but what might be proactive in terms of the buildings. A question for learning. At our last facilities meeting, I had referenced a policy and administrative review around purchases that may be subject to bid. And regarding the roofing repairs at Cheltenham High School, the quote is above $10,000. And so is this a scenario where in the administrative review, it says when it exceeds 10,000, you know, 3 quotes have to be procured and so forth. So is this a case where that already happened, or because this quote came in above 10,000, then we have to go and find other quotes? Or is this, just wanted to see if this is an area where that policy would actually take effect given the price?
My understanding is that ARC is part of USA Roofing, which is CoStar's Under co-stars, you don't have to have it go out to bid if it's under $21,300. Now I could be mistaken, let me find out, and I'll respect to you before I go forward with this work. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Actually, I can jump in on that for you, Tim. It's Chuck. There are certain co-stars as a state purchasing co-op. We're also members of a national purchasing co-op, which allows you to award contracts above the bid threshold because they've already done the bidding for you in the purchasing co-ops. Tim and I talked about certain roofing contractors and bids are already done through either co-stars or a national co-op called U.S. Communities. And they do a pretty good job there, and they do all the vetting of they actually do 3 quotes for you for roofing, but outside of our bidding, which is a very long and costly process for us to put specs together and bid. These guys do it for us. So, we've been working on that, and our hope is to, you got to fix the leaks, unless it's a major roof replacement, which would be on a cycle, hopefully. These leaks need to be fixed, or if the envelope of the building isn't dry, you're just kind of ruining stuff inside. I'll also make just a quick comment on the what Charles, you were saying about I agree with you 100%. I'm not sure how these projects got drug out. They were in the process of, some of these projects were in the process of being drug out when I first got here, almost a year ago. Normally insurance will give you an approval if you have a problem within a week, whether it's going to qualify or whether you beat the deductible or whatever. And sometimes if it's a large amount, then insurance will actually require going through one of their people to do it. But generally they use us. I think what got held up in these couple things was some kind of infighting, amongst ourselves and amongst the people involved, because there was some possible design and construction issues around these newer things at Cedar Brook and even at the high school in the library. Tim and I talked yesterday. We got to fix these things. I'm just tired of hearing about these every month. What are we doing? We got to fix them and then go after these people later if we find out it's their fault. You're kind of, the kids. It's a shame to have a brand new, now it's 3 years old, great media center that nobody's used. So we're with you. So when we've already been talking about that, internally, and we got to get that moving. You guys would absolutely need to approve the contracts for repairs and things on these things. But when you have an emergency situation, you don't have to bid things. So, for example, the scoreboard falling down, and I don't know what it's going to cost for it, but if it's, let's just say it's less than our deductible, we still have the right, even if it's over the bid threshold, to repair it under an emergency repair. Now, that's probably a bad example because I don't know that we have a football game scheduled until next year. So, but still, the point is, if you have something such as the drainage outside of Cedar Brook failing, that can be fixed almost right away without going through the bidding process, doing a quotation process under the emergency provisions of the Pennsylvania State the the construction code for schools. So sorry, just wanted to kind of let you know we are working on this, and Tim's been really great at trying to get ahead of this stuff, and I'm hoping to get some of these stuff at least started before I'm going, just so I can see some closure in the future.
Yeah, I'm going to actually jump in here for a minute. I was going to raise this point later on, but I'll raise it now about matters that involve litigation or might involve litigation. I just want to recommend that we not discuss them in a public setting. These do fall under the Sunshine Act under executive session. And I was going to raise that specifically about Cedar Brook. And I know that it was talked about on the meeting tonight about possibly being talked about in the next facilities committee meeting. So I would just encourage conversations with the administration, our solicitors, to ascertain or verify if that can be done in executive session as appropriate, so that we're not doing something which could impact the district going forward in terms of talking about possible direction or strategy about litigation matters. So I just wanted to bring that up and jump in about that. Thank you.
If I might make, I'm sorry, that I
Sure.
wanted to make a response to the response, but I can raise,
No,
do I need to
that's fine, Mr.
re-raise?
Please.
Sorry. Sorry for the interruption. But before we move forward, certainly didn't raise that. I appreciate both your responses, Mr. Linderman and Holman. Certainly didn't raise that as a delaying tactic. However, in the district's efforts around diversifying and its contractors, it sounds like in this process of co-stars, we would then be dependent upon their efforts to ensure that there's an inclusive and diverse pool that we draw from. Just making that connection, that's really where my interest was going, not certainly to extend the process out. And so that's a question I'm continue, and I think that will be a continuing question for us. And so that's really, I wanted to make that interest explicit. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe next is Mr. Fishbein.
Yeah, I was going to make the point, I'll be a little more brief because you made the point that I was going to make, that we ought to restrain ourselves in public settings from speaking about things having to do with litigation, because anything that we may hear from our solicitor, any strategy decisions that we may be making as a board that impact litigation ought not be a public conversation. So just cautioning the board on that issue. And I saw the distinction between what Mr. Epps was asking, which was clearly designed to ensure that we get minority representation in our contracting, and the need for speed in certain situations, and the difference between the two. So thank you for that as well. And that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. I believe that Ms. Sloman is next.
Thank you. I just had a question about, we've been, the board and administration certainly been getting a lot of emails lately related to COVID issues, and a couple of them had to do with sort of our use of filters and HEPA filters. And I know that we had installed all new filters, air purifiers, in both the high school and at EP. And I was just wondering, making sure that everything was going okay with those. We didn't have to replace any of them, or how that was all sort of looking.
Mr. Hallman, you may be on mute.
I was. Thank you, Dr. Scriven. We do have 2 years of filter replacement changes that were purchased prior to my arrival, so that when they are to be changed on I believe it's even in the PM program when they get changed. As far as so yes, we do not have any gaps there. All right.
Thank you. Because we had quite a bit of discussion about those for over several facilities committee meetings. So I was hoping everything was okay with them. The only other question I sort of had, because this is something we'd seen, and maybe this will be a little different moving forward, is kind of school dude updates in terms of sort of where things stand. And you kind of did that already in terms of repairs, but sort of forward-looking fixes, if you will. I don't know if that's being used to identify some of these things that you're working on, or where that still fits in.
The PM program, the PM module of School Dude does that right now. I'm also looking at the facilities, the FCA, facilities conditions assessment that was put forth that we had done a couple of years ago, and that's moving. That's how I am strategizing moving forward, and I will speak to that at next month's meeting also. All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I believe that completes the board comments. I know that we have a few people as attendees. If any of the attendees have a question or comment to raise, if they can raise their hand, and I'll call on you, and I'll give you a moment to possibly do so. Seeing no other hands raised amongst the board or the attendees, I believe that completes our agenda. The next meeting for facilities is scheduled for February 1st at 7 p.m. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
So move, Charles Riddell Williams.
Second, Pam Henry.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That completes the meeting, and thank you.